I'm Kliff Kuehl, and I'm a former president and CEO of KNPB, now PBS Reno. We loved being in Reno, my family and I did, and it was a tough decision to leave. But for me, my family and my wife's family were in Texas. And so even though it still seems like a long way away, Kansas City to Waco, Texas, it's a lot closer than 1,500 or 1,600 miles.
I'll kick it off by welcoming our president and CEO, Kliff Kuehl.
Thank you, Beth. And it is wonderful to see everybody here today.
I think PBS Reno and then Kansas City PBS, I would argue they both kind of punch above their weight and add a lot of value to the market, create a lot of content and a lot of engagement and a lot of service to citizens throughout their viewing area.
It was really nice. It was very nice. And I'm sure other people want to say hi to you.
I try to give people a lot of freedom in their roles. And I know sometimes I'm going to be a referee or an arbiter or a bit of a nag or whatever you want to call it, but I try to just let people, here's what we're trying to do. You figure out in your role how to get us there, and I'll help you if you want me to help you. I was born in Waco, Texas. I think I enjoyed being a Texan because it's kind of larger than life and it's a huge state and it has a lot to offer. I was a big music fan from probably teenage years on and just loved music, and I loved reading and a big Kurt Vonnegut fan, and then I liked movies as well. And so when I went to college at the University of Texas in Austin, I was undecided initially, and I maybe wanted to be a writer, and then I thought, you know what, this is more pragmatic. I'll go study a radio, television, film, because that might be an easier way to get a job when I get out of college. Wasn't necessarily the case. I was working on raising money and doing my own productions at a certain point. We raised $250,000 and I made the movie Murder Rap. I continued for too long to try to continue to have an independent production company and do productions, and I did everything from a big government bakery training video to a sales video for a funeral home. And then finally in there at some point I went to work for my father-in-law at his golf driving ranges, and then it inspired me after picking up and washing golf balls there in the state of Texas in the summer to go to work for the public broadcasting station in Waco, Texas, which was, we ended up being KWBU, and I worked there for about 5 years as a production guy and then an operations manager, and then about 5 years as their general manager. I was kind of tired of fundraising all the time and having to go out and make sales pitches. So being the genius that I am, I went to public television where I ended up. That's a lot of what I do. When I was in Waco, at a certain point, after 3 or 4 years there as general manager, you know, you end up having folks contact you about other jobs on occasion. And the Reno came along, and the PBS Reno station had such a wonderful history of the managers that had gone there and learned and then gone on to other jobs. And so for me, I thought that was a great opportunity to follow in the footsteps of some of those wonderful managers. My aunt and uncle lived in California. I had been going since I was about 9 years old to Lake Tahoe. And so I knew that part of the country a little bit. And so when this job came open, I was like, oh my gosh, you could actually live in this place and be that close to Lake Tahoe and to skiing. Our children were young at the time. And so the ability to go there and throw your skis on the roof of your car and drive up to the mountains and ski, it was very appealing. In terms of philosophies that have guided my life, I think the thing that comes closest to that for me is probably figuring out at 32 years old that I needed to be more about service and looking outward to the community and what I can do to add value to an organization I'm involved in, and less about my ego and me looking in the mirror and what I want. How can you serve people? What are they worried about? What do they care about? What are they excited about? Seeing those passionate people how much they cared about Reno and PBS Reno. I always look for that in our staff, but certainly in our board members as well, who loves this product, loves the service, and who wants to kind of go with me up that hill to be the best that the organization can be.